Welcome to Mind Amendment, the podcast that dares to challenge the ways that we think about mental health, physical health, addiction, and healing. Y'all, we are all exhausted, but being an ally doesn't have to be hard. Welcome back to Mind Amendment. In this final Pride Month installment of Healing in the Margins, Ashley Hampton shows us how to move from awkward silence to meaningful action and how to keep showing up even when we're tired. Welcome to part 4 of our final episode with Ashley Hampton. I am excited and sad because this is our last, but I want to also say happy Pride. Gosh. This is my favorite month of the year. I
don't think I knew that.
Well, yeah, it's Pride.
Okay. December is my favorite month.
Really?
Yeah, but June is great.
I would say December is my second favorite, but okay. Yeah, I love, I feel the most connected to everyone, not just our rainbow siblings.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that it's so true, that connectivity piece, we're together more, we're doing more. I get it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, diving in. This next quote hits home, especially during Pride Month when so many are asking how to support. You said, you don't need a degree to be a safe space, but you do need accountability. Let's explore that with one last quiz game, and this time on what real allyship sounds like. Okay. Let me make sure this time.
I love that quote.
That I'm on the right. Well, you said it.
It's amazing.
All right. This quiz game is called Allyship or Alibi. You like it? All right. You're going to label each statement cringe, clutch, or competent. I just don't see color. I treat everyone the same.
Cringe.
And I was waiting for your second answer. It's a cringe and a crutch.
I mean, it's just not okay.
It's not okay.
It's a cringe. It's a crutch.
Yeah.
There needs to be another word. It's bad.
All right. I'm still learning and I'm open to being corrected.
I feel competent that that's a good answer.
We're laughing, y'all, because we started super early this morning. We're filming all 4 parts back to back. If you can't tell, we haven't changed clothes, and we didn't just put all in the same clothes over and over and over to film all these episodes. I love that. We're on the home stretch.
I'm learning. I'm open to learning more.
And
that's good.
That is what we got to bring.
Yes. That's it.
Yep. All right. C, I support you, but can we not talk about this at work?
Clutch, crutch, cringe.
It is definitely not clutch.
It's not clutch. It's cringe and not good.
D, I'm not homophobic, but I just don't want my kids around that.
No. Harmful. Gross.
That face added the word that needed to be there. Yeah. Oh. The women of 1,000 faces. All right. So today we're going to talk about what's the emotional difference between being an ally who listens versus one who avoids.
Ooh.
Okay. So what are the biggest myths people have about what it means to be a safe space?
So I think what you just said is so important. I think that listening is actually pretty hard. I think that most people who want to be allies or who want to care, even myself in a helping profession, I think that what gets us in trouble sometimes is the idea that, oh my gosh, I could have hurt someone, or I'm not doing it right, or I did something wrong. I think that fear stops us from hearing what's really underneath what's being said, because we're human. Our defenses come up, and the idea that, oh my gosh, maybe I've caused harm, I think feels so scary to so many people that they miss the point. It becomes so self-centered instead of centered around what the person is saying. And so that is one of the biggest mistakes that I see happen all the time, and that I do, that I've done and constantly am working on. It's like, okay, hold on. If I'm actually creating safety, then that means I'm creating opportunity for feedback. That means I'm creating opportunity for people to tell me where I missed the mark. So now my go-to when I feel that, thank you first. Thank you for telling me that. And then I'm going to be quiet and listen. And my body's going to be on fire and I want to explain why and justify. I pause. Because to me, that shows true care and accountability for how I showed up, even if it wasn't my intention to. So that's like my favorite thing that I've really been working on, the past few years, is creating space for accountability, creating space for people to actually tell me how I make them feel because I ask. And I think that's huge. That goes a long, long way.
Yeah. You just made my mind. That's some food for thought I'm going to be thinking on.
Yeah.
For a minute. I
think about it all the time. And I think in my practice, when a client tells me that something rubbed them the wrong way or it hurt them, I feel all of those feelings I just said, but I also feel like a sense of pride because I know they feel safe enough to bring that to me. Yeah. Because I know that I laid the groundwork for them to come to me and say, yo, Ashley, that wasn't okay.
There are very few times where a situation evokes multiple emotions simultaneously, where you can feel guilty, maybe shameful, depending on what, proud, grateful, there's so many things that I just experienced because I was reflecting on some of my own stuff as you were saying that.
Yeah.
In real time. So, but that's what a beautiful opportunity. And I hope to always be in that place that you just described. And I'm going to keep coming back to that.
It's not easy. I don't know if I always want to be in it because that, but it's
let's
important.
Talk about how too, that no matter who you are, where you are, how marginalized you are, there's always someone else, another group that is more marginalized than you or also needs your allyship. There just is. There's probably someone who probably gets the token in the world for being the most, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm getting at here is that none of us is above examining ourselves and where we are lacking in being an ally for the people we need to be an ally for. Right. Yeah. Just because I'm myself, for example, and this is I'm an easy target on this one, but I always joke about this because it's as a blue-haired 6'3" white gay guy from Brentwood, Tennessee, I'm barely in the marginalized. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I get that. I realize that I have a hell of a lot of privilege. And I think that's very important, but you go further down, there even down the rungs of the marginalization, there are still people that need, do you know what I'm saying? There are always people that need the
absolutely.
And so the work that what you're talking about doesn't just apply to the people with the most privilege and that are out. Do you know what I mean? To be an ally.
I think every human, if we talk back to healing justice, every person who wants to create healing in this world, it doesn't happen if you're not accountable. First with self, then with others. Yeah. I think that's so important.
That's a soundbite right there. Not only a soundbite, that's a good quote.
You can add it to
I will. I will.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admissions center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.
How can someone show up better for their queer, trans, or BIPOC loved ones without making it about themselves?
I think that care, that just care, acts of care. So it could go to like thinking of you this month, thinking of you every month. How can I support you today? I think that it's hard to be super general about it. I think again, it's talking to someone. I think it's actually like connecting, like, and the questions of like, what does pride look like for you? How do you celebrate pride? What are you proud of? And I feel like I don't get asked those questions a lot by people outside of my community. And I think that would go a long way. Does that make sense? It's like, oh, you have an organization, y'all are going to be at Pride. How can we support you? That would go a long way. I think it's so simple. And I think that because, again, we go back to people don't want to get it wrong, that sometimes they do nothing. They don't want to say the wrong thing, so they say nothing. And I think just saying like, Happy Pride.
Well, this connects back to the accountability piece is like that you were saying, is that do something and be brave enough to accept the fact that your something, while appreciated, may also get corrected, because there's a better way. Like, be open to your something being able to be improved upon. Be ready for feedback. And I think the chance of having negative feedback to you checking in with a friend and being like, Happy Pride, how can I show up for you for this month? How can I celebrate with you this month? Well, where I was going with that is that because, and you didn't know I was going to ask this to you, but I wonder if you can pull out some examples, because I know I sure can. That last part, without making it about themselves. Do you have some examples of what, because like when I say that, you and I get this, but to someone who has not experienced the attempt that is like the failed attempt, when someone, they're like trying to connect, but it's ultimately made about them.
It's performative.
Well, it's performative, because I think that I would venture to say that in part of the cases it's performative, and I think in the other part of the cases it comes from good intentions, but they're naive or haven't done the work. Like what you said, they just don't know somehow, because like I firmly believe you can become with good intentions and want to do the right thing,
right?
But because of whatever is going on with you, somehow making it about yourself, right? Like, I care about you, but when I say it, right? Like, because if I bring it back to me when I'm talking about what's going on with you, I'm not really making it about you. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm talking about how sad it makes me to see what's happening in your community, and I just like I've had so much anxiety this week because because well, I'm right now making you care about me.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
Highlighting your experience and how you feel above the person that you're trying to care for.
Right. And so that's what I'm talking about, is like, what are some other examples? Because I think that it's important for people here. We can say, don't make it about yourself when you are showing up for your queer, trans, or BIPOC loved ones when you're talking to them. It's easy to say that, but I think that providing examples is necessary, because not everybody really gets what we mean when we're saying you make it about yourself when you.
Yeah, I think intention matters. And I think if your intention is to connect with someone, then that's their experience. So leading with your experience, I feel this impacted me in this way. To me, I think instantly from the jump turns that attention back to you instead of on the other. And so I think that that's a big one. I think leading with really anything that's about your experience, it makes it harder for other people to feel comfortable to share their experience. And so that's kind of why I lean again into this is a big month. What's going on for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can I show up for you? And then pause and then say nothing else. I think a lot of times we get overly in our heads and we're saying way more than, and that to me, I think is where we like, it's like, I think you can show up just literally by talking to someone and asking how they're doing and then letting them answer. That's my go-to.
What is your advice to a well-meaning ally who feels stuck in fear of doing the wrong thing?
I think that a lot of people get stuck in fear. And I think first I want to like normalize that, because I do think anytime we try and move or do something differently, it is kind of scary. And I also offer this comfort. Being an ally, there's no way that is scarier than who you are trying to be an ally for. And so if we can put perspective on our fear, if we can manage our own fear, it's going to create so much more safety for others. And so what does that look like? I don't know if you need a deep breathe. I don't know if you need a mantra. I don't know if you need a script. I don't know if you need to practice saying, hey, how can I support you this month? I don't know what you need to do to be comfortable to do that and hold the space. But that to me would be super, super helpful. I think though it is scary to show up in ways that you weren't taught. And so I think also knowing that and going into that, I think even naming like, hey, I want to check in on you. I want to make sure that I'm doing it in the most like comfortable way for you. If not, let me know and proceed. I feel like those kinds of care and pauses really make a difference when you're communicating with someone.
Absolutely.
Something you haven't before.
Yeah. All right. If someone listening grew up steeped in privilege, how do they start to unlearn without shame shutting them down?
That's a really, really good question. Because I feel like shame is one of those emotions that overwhelms the system and it does shut us down. And so I'm a big believer of radical acceptance.
Okay, DBT.
If we can accept what is, then maybe shame just kind of slips away. I think it's the clutching on to the shame. And I think I would go a step further and say it's also easier to be stuck in shame than change. And so how do we accept what is so that we can own it and change it? And so that would be what I would, and that's hard work. Sounds really nice. It sounds good. It's easy, but it's really not that easy to do. But I think that is what is called if you want to create change.
What would you say the first step in that is?
The first step, I think you have to acknowledge how you feel. I think acknowledging it like, oh, I feel so much shame. I feel it. And I think pulling skills, I don't know if we're deep breathing. I don't know if we're ice in our face. I don't know what we're doing, but I really do think acknowledging it and then accepting it. Mm-hmm. We can't change this, but if we can't even acknowledge it, we also can't change this way either. And so I think just it is what it is. I think acceptance is so important, and that's really, really hard to do. But I think acceptance is liberating. Absolutely.
Finish this sentence for me. Healing in the margins requires us to.
Healing in the margins requires us to care, to pay deep attention to, and to get into action. I think healing in the margins is going to take a lot of work, a lot of deep care. That's a hard one. I'm going to sit with that. I'm like, oh, that's a good one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Ashley, thank you so much for bringing all of this. This has been amazing. I love that we haven't even talked at all in the series about how Juneteenth falls in Pride Month.
Yes.
And I think that one of the biggest reasons I love it is because I personally feel that we are called to support all of us in the marginalized communities, to support each other. But historically, there is this close connection of support between BIPOC and LGBTQ+, because there's had to be. Trans women of color are the most, am I correct in saying that they're the most marginalized community in the United States?
The most marginalized?
Yes.
I know that they're the most vulnerable.
Most vulnerable, okay.
To horrific things.
Right. They're like, as far as crime is concerned, they are the highest.
They're the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that there is this beautiful, there's a call to action for both to support one another. And I think that that's already historically happened. I hope it continues to happen. And I love that in this same month, we get to recognize, celebrate, work together, continue learning, continue doing spotlights, dismantling shame, saying, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold me accountable, growing together, all the things that we've talked about in this. And I hope, I look to this year and I hope that when we look back, because for me, Pride, I always look back at like, okay, so what have I done and what has our society done since last year of Pride? And unfortunately, I feel like we get an F for this past year. I mean, but
you know what though? I think that yes, I think systemically we get an F, but I think it's so important to look at the people and the spaces and the places that are doing really well. That are doing the work.
When I say we get an F, I'm not talking about the
But I think it's important in the same sentence to hold that. Because there are a lot of people in the LGBT and specifically the Black LGBT community who are getting A's in my book.
Oh, and 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
I'm talking about society as a whole, not the community doing the work.
But I think sometimes society as a whole, we focus on that, and that dampens the light of the communities who are not failing.
Thank you for saying that, because do
you know what I mean? Like I think about healing in the margins. I think about Mashup Nashville. I think they're not failing. They are in systems that are failing, and they are still working incredibly hard to do the work, and they're still doing it against all the odds. And so I think that's important to name, because it can be really easy to feel like I'm in a system that's failing, so I'm going to fail. What's the point? And then we really get nowhere.
Yeah. I love this comfort. Like I felt because it's you, I felt so comfortable saying, wait, but, and asking the hard questions that I might not have asked someone else. This show is all about that. We need to be able to come to the table, ask the hard questions, pocket our pride.
I love that.
Be willing to be wrong, to potentially say it wrong because you're trying to get it right. Mm-hmm. And then be accountable when you receive feedback. Exactly like you said earlier. That's what we're doing here. I hope that we fostered that with our listeners and our viewers. We're so glad that you're here. I love you, Ashley.
I love you, Patrick. And I'm thankful for the space and to be able to just be honest and show up. That's refreshing.
It is.
Yes.
With that, I don't think that there's any more that can be said. Thank you, audience. Happy Pride. That's a wrap on Healing in the Margins with Ashley Hampton. This Pride Month, let's remember, being an ally isn't about having all the answers. It's about showing up, listening, and learning. Follow Mind Amendment to stay in the conversation. Like, comment, and follow our show to keep learning, growing, and healing together.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admission center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.